Is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order worth playing in 2026? Firstly, the story occurs between Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith and Episode 4 A New Hope, specifically 5 years after Revenge of the Sith and 14 years before A New Hope, which is an interesting period in Star Wars that has only been explored in several other Star Wars games. There are few surviving Jedi, and you play as one who managed to survive the Purge in the form of Cal Kestis. Honestly, I think the story is great. It's one of the best Star Wars narratives, and it's up there for me when compared to other video games in the franchise. According to How Long to Beat, the main story should take about 17 hours to complete. If you take your time, it should be just over 24.5 hours. This isn't a game you'll be spending a lot of time with. However, it isn't exactly short either. It's well paced, and the length is perfect really. Fallen Order falls into the Metroidvania genre, as while there is a lot of exploration, you cannot really go anywhere and explore every area of the game straight away. Despite having a total of 8 planets, only 5 of them are explorable, and certain areas of them can't be accessed until you unlock a particular ability or skill. Even though there are no side missions, there's a wealth of collectibles on the 5 explorable planets, including cosmetics such as costumes for Cal, skins for his companion droid BD-1, and paint jobs for the Mantis, your ship. Other types of collectibles consist of lightsaber parts you can use to customise your saber, stims you can use to heal yourself and which increase your health bar when you find them, force essences that increase your force bar, as well as force echoes Cal can feel and objects that can be scanned by BD-1. Speaking of the Mantis, this starship serves as a hub area in a similar fashion to the Ebon Hawk in the Knights of the Old Republic games. You can save your game, travel to different planets, talk to your companions, and more. After you have beaten the story, you can play through it again on New Journey Plus, the equivalent of a New Game Plus mode, where all the cosmetics you have unlocked will be available in addition to all the lightsaber parts you've collected. Collectibles can be found in chests, and all the ones you opened will stay that way, meaning that if you want to achieve 100% in New Journey Plus, it will be a quicker, easier task. However, unlike other games with New Game Plus modes, your skills and abilities, the collectible stims, force essences, force echoes and objects that can be scanned will have to be unlocked and found once more. Even though this might be annoying at first, it's understandable due to the Metroidvania progression of the game where Cal can only unlock certain abilities during specific parts of the story. Starting without the skills and abilities you built up in New Game adds to the challenge if you decide to play on a hard difficulty like I did. Going from the easiest difficulty, story mode, to the hardest, Jedi Grandmaster, was tough, but the boss fights were enjoyable, even if I died countless times in most of them. Aside from having a skill tree to upgrade your abilities, Fallen Order possesses another RPG element in the form of dialogue choices, although these aren't exactly fleshed out. There are only several occasions where this occurs, and it's when you speak to certain companions at particular stages in the story. Different dialogue choices will yield different responses, but won't affect the path of the story, because it is part of the Star Wars canon. When concerning the gameplay, Fallen Order is a third-person action-adventure game where you wield a lightsaber and force powers. The lightsaber combat is some of the best and most refined of any Star Wars game. It's fluid and allows you to execute satisfying combos. Parrying is a core mechanic of the combat that is vital to defeating some of the tougher enemies, including bosses. Many of the opponents have block meters, which when emptied allow them to take damage. Parrying their attacks enable you to decrease their meter to 0. Cal also has a block meter and enemies can reduce his too, which is why you want to parry and not rely on blocking too much. This is essential in boss fights against lightsaber wielding opponents, for example. Figuring out their attack patterns, knowing when to parry and gradually improving in the process was a fun experience, especially when I replayed the game on the Grandmaster difficulty. There are also some cool force powers which can be upgraded to be even more effective, and using these on enemies made for an entertaining time. A good portion of the gameplay involves platforming, which includes wall running, double jumping, sliding, and swimming segments. These sections of gameplay can be challenging in themselves. One final aspect of the gameplay to mention are the puzzles. There aren't many, but the few you will need to complete to progress can be head scratchers. However, they are not that complex. When it comes to other modes in Jedi Fallen Order, there are 2 in the form of combat challenges and a battle grid. Both are accessed through the meditation training option in the meditation circles dotted around most of the planets in the game. The combat challenges pit you against waves of enemies you encounter in the main game on 12 planets and locations from the main game too. If you earn a certain number of stars in total, you can unlock a new skin for BD-1. There are 3 stars to earn for each challenge. Defeat all enemies, no healing, and take no damage. Defeat all enemies is the easiest to achieve, with the other 2 being significantly harder. Then we have the battle grid, which allows you to have fun creating custom challenges of your own. You can choose from every enemy you encounter in the main game, and all the arenas from the combat challenges. Other options include choosing the size of the grid, affecting the size of the battles you want, and 6 different mods to make things interesting. As a side note, the meditation training was added as part of a free update on Star Wars Day in 2020 and does not affect the progress percentage on your save file. Although something I didn't mention is that New Journey Plus was also added as part of this update, and you do have to create a new save file for that, so you do have a progress percentage for that. Jedi Fallen Order's soundtrack consists of an original score, save for the odd track from the original Star Wars saga that plays at specific sections of the story. Stephen Barton and Gordy Harb composed the score. Sorry if I mispronounced your surname, Gordy. The former having co-wrote the score for Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, as well as composing the scores for the Titanfall games, while the latter composed the music for the 2017 version of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and was one of the composers of the scores for Halo Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic. Fallen Order's music is unique yet familiar. It sounds John Williams-esque and simultaneously carves out an identity of its own. Moreover, some of the music has similarities to OSTs of other Star Wars games, like KOTOR 2. As a whole, Fallen Order's soundtrack is excellent, with several standouts that amplify the emotion and atmosphere a scene or section of the story is aiming to convey. Is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order worth playing in 2026? 100% yes. It's a must play for any Star Wars fan, and I think non-Star Wars fans or people who want to get into Star Wars through this game will enjoy it. The story is captivating, impactful and emotional, with a cast of likeable, entertaining and fleshed out protagonists. Conversely, there are several well-developed antagonists. Some of the most powerful parts of the story stem from the interactions between Cal and his companions, and their interactions with a few of the villains. It is also worth bearing in mind that if you play the PS5 version of the game, you may run into a number of bugs, at least based off my last playthrough of the game on the PS5 version, because when I first played through the game it was on the base PS4 and it was the PS4 version. Compared to that, it does seem like the PS5 version has maybe introduced a number of bugs and glitches that I don't remember seeing in my first playthrough on the PS4. There is a performance and quality mode. Stay away from the quality mode. It seems like to this day it still hasn't been fixed. It just feels terrible. I don't know if it's meant to be 30 FPS or locked at 30, but it really doesn't look like a smooth 30 at all. So just stick with performance, which is pretty much locked at 60, doesn't really have any problems. There is still a lack of polish as well in terms of certain movements that you might perform with Cal. I suppose you could say they're physics problems. I know there are people who have reported physics problems on Reddit forums, for example. There is actually another mode I forgot to mention, which is the photo mode. Interesting to experiment with, and I did mess around with that a lot on my first playthrough. Even though my first playthrough of the game was on the easiest difficulty of story mode, I wouldn't rule out any of the 3 harder difficulties if you want a sufficient challenge. As you know, I jumped all the way to the hardest difficulty of Jedi Grandmaster for my second and most recent playthrough, and I died way more times than in the first playthrough. Of course, the decision is yours to make. Do you simply want to enjoy the story and gameplay with a low level of difficulty, or perhaps you don't want to make combat encounters too easy to make things more interesting? When all is said and done, Jedi Fallen Order is well worth a try, regardless of the decision you choose. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a like if you did, and subscribe to see more content like this. Enjoy the rest of your day, and that is all.